In today's business world, change is the only constant, and mastering transformation is the ultimate key to success. Welcome to Shift and Thrive. I'm your host, Natalie Nathanson. Each week, we'll bring you conversations with CEOs who delve into how they successfully drove critical change in their organization. This show is sponsored by Magnitude Consulting, bringing you the thinking power of a growth consultancy and the getting it done power of a full-service B2B marketing agency. Welcome to another special edition episode on Shift and Thrive as part of our Go-to-Market mini-series. If you're a CEO or business leader wondering how to get your go-to-market strategy to evolve right now to meet today's market realities, this episode is for you. And today's episode focuses on a facet of go-to-market that's still a somewhat newer discipline, but I would say already a necessity in most B2B environments. We'll be talking all about revenue operations, or RevOps. And joining me in that discussion is a guest who brings a blend of experience, frontline selling, RevOps expertise, and programmatic go-to-market thinking. She started her go-to-market journey as a top-performing BDR after careers in other fields, including teaching and running a family business. In sales, she quickly rose the ranks to build go-to-market functions at high-growth startups like LinkSquares. Today, she runs Activate the Magic, a firm offering fractional go-to-market operations that essentially operates as a firm's RevOps center of excellence to diagnose bottlenecks and deliver scalable systems. Jacki Leahy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Natalie.
It's great to have you, and I'm really looking forward to diving in. I think one of the biggest go-to-market challenges that companies are facing right now is that go-to-market motions that used to work even a couple of years ago, a few years ago, especially things like cold outbound, are breaking down really fast. And so we all know inboxes are flooded, AI-generated noise is everywhere, buyers are getting tired of it. So I know you sit right in the middle of this world and have been piloting some pretty impactful efforts to respond to this. So would love if you could start by talking us through what do you see working today, and if you could share some examples, that would be great.
Sure. So in general, it's a super visceral topic, right? Because this is how I made my claim to fame, was being one of those original outreach adopters and being nationally ranked power user of outreach, right? We went from 350K ARR to 9 million in 2 years with zero marketing hires, and it was cold outbound. So, over the past year and a half, as cold outbound emails became less and less effective, and then kind of downright just not viable as that core go-to-market strategy anymore. It's been real tough. One of my clients, they've been with me since pretty much the beginning. Over the past year, they've brought on 2 BDRs, and instead of increasing booked meetings, their activity is up 700x over last year, right? But the replies, booked meetings, pipeline generated is way down. Way down. So we took a beat, kind of used the scientific method. I tried to breathe through it, what's working isn't working anymore. And so we identified one core thing, which was their bounce rate is 7.1%. And it was holy moly, right? And their reply rate was down and book meetings was down. So deliverability, absolutely. Also just better contact info and enrichment. And then if and when we do get through all the spam filters and land in someone's inbox, if they're going to read it, we really want to bang an email for them. So we're doing a few things. We're tackling it in a 12-week sprint. And the first thing we're going to do is really start enriching using Clay and some enrichment waterfalls with data providers. And it also gives us access to some unique variables that we can find from Google Maps data and stuff like that. Very cool. So where our hypothesis is that we can bring the bounce rate down from 7.1 to at least like 5 and potentially 3.4, which will just unlock so many more extra replies and book meetings from there. And then the second test we're doing is we're piloting a brand new product that Lavender is bringing to market. It's called Aura. I think we're going to be the 6th beta customer for it. And it's a research agent that also does really cool contextual research on like who people's bosses are and peers, and it also trains itself on your history of emails, right? So it's going to learn what works for you. And then Lavender in general has been in the email writing excellence game for years. So it's also calling on all that best practices. So we are kicking off a 12-week sprint, really aiming to get those unlocked replies, which will mean unlocked extra meeting of high quality that, fingers crossed, make it to pipeline. And their executive leaders are like, holy moly, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I like how you talk about diagnosing the problem, because I think the challenges can come from different places. And so really looking at, what's causing it, and then knowing where to focus, because you can easily fix the wrong areas, right? Or think you need to work on different areas than you do. I want to come back to something you said. You talked about unique variables and right, like how you can get data that kind of moves you in new or different directions for your campaign. Wanted to hear some of those examples, really kind of bring it to life for the listener.
Yeah. So my view on all the AI, it's not to replace SDRs or even like enhance or efficient. It's really not even about efficiency. It's about the bar has been raised, right? There's AI slop. So really, and it's so easy to be like, hi, reference your last job, reference blah, 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 right? It's almost too easy. Like a year and a half ago, that would have been like, wow, I can't believe you mentioned a customer in a case story and the specific value we've got. Like that would have done numbers 18 months ago. But now it's just like, yeah, so I have 100 emails telling me something specific that I know that they got just because of right? So it's really on us, the go-to-market practitioners, to, okay, the bar has been raised, but our creativity and resourcefulness also needs to be raised. So like using that as momentum to really supercharge our elbow grease. So for example, this is a company that acquires like mom and pop HVAC companies. I'm sure like people are kind of knowing like the baby boomers are retiring and their children don't necessarily want to take over the business. So there's this huge, what do I do with this sustainable business that's not huge, right? But a lot of people have caught on to that. So now these mom and pop business owners, like 2 years ago, would have been like, wow, this person wants to potentially buy my business. That's an interesting, but now they're getting emails all the time. But what if you could use AI agents to go run down creative questions like, how many children does this person have? Like, what ages are they? Can we find their professions on LinkedIn? Does it look like there's a real gap in legacy here to talk to? Even tracking down like what businesses are around you in Google Maps. All of these things that it's like, if the prospect really thinks about it, it's like, oh yeah, I guess I can see how they triangulated that. But it's about being resourceful and bringing it to the next level that creates value. Like no matter what, after someone reads my email, I want them to be like, I never thought about it like that. So that's really that's the task at hand.
Yeah. I like that you brought it back to creating value, because I do think so many of the kind of personalization in emails and things like that, it can feel like a nice touch, but I think, that nice touch
So
isn't
what?
something, you're right. It doesn't impact the results. Everyone knows now that you can create that through AI. But I think some of the kinds of things you're talking about might impact, right, who you target to begin with, and then bringing value, sending them different kind of educational content based on what you can glean. So yes, there could be a creepy factor that we're all contending with from the recipient, but done right, I think it really can, drive very different kinds of communications.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, we often talk about just the kind of back to the basics. And yes, there's a lot of technology that can help you kind of automate and scale and get this intelligence quickly. But it still comes back down to who are you targeting, getting more laser focused on who that is and how, just like you were talking about, and then articulating your value prop, knowing the tactics that will resonate with that particular user based on their day to day, how they operate, where they live, online and offline. And so I think that really points to
No
it as well.
excuses. There's nothing you can't get access to. So to not be able to wear your prospect as a skin suit there's no excuses now. Like you can really put yourself in their spot and like have like really deep visceral empathy for what their job is like and what their problem is like. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. We're talking a bit about some of the things that are changing in the landscape, and curious to kind of bubble it up a bit to, are there any, go-to-market beliefs or practices that you feel are outdated given the world that we live in? And, what should replace them, if so?
Well, something that's really gnawed on me for years that I can finally sort of articulate and it resonates is up until now, it's like we've been copying each other's playbooks. And it's like I hear, what sales engagement platform do I need? Because I'm starting out, I'm going to start prospecting, right? We have to build pipeline. So it's like, wait. Sales engagement platform is not a strategy. Let's back it up. What are you actually trying to do? And a lot of times we just kind of like, oh, well, this is what you do. And it's really just what worked that we've built solutions around to track and measure. Right. And so it's like, whoa. We kind of don't know what works right now. So let's get back, like you said, back to the basics. You have to figure out what works and then figure out how to measure it, how to quantify, how to, oh my gosh, scale, automate, right? It's like we're so used to this, like, oh, you do this and then this and then this, and then immediately we have feedback and KPIs. It's like, we don't know yet. And really leaving that space for the curiosity and the unknown is like, there's testing before you iterate and automate. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there different metrics that you look at or advise clients to look at that maybe different than a few years ago?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Have everyone on your sales team and leadership team make 10 high quality comments on people's LinkedIn posts a day. If everyone's doing that, your company's trajectory will just shift, and you can track that, right? And it's, think of who your target persona listens to and trusts on LinkedIn. Follow those people. That's where the elbow grease is, right? Wearing your, like, really putting the hat of your persona on and being like, okay, who does this person look up to? Who does this person listen to? And if you make yourselves the Cliff and Norm regulars of those thought leaders' comment sections, you're bringing value to that thought leader. Anytime I post on LinkedIn, the first couple of people to like and comment, oh my gosh, a repost. And if you're doing that all the time, I love you. And then, like, you really do start to build a rapport with the people in your comments, like both people in my comments, me and other people's comments. And it's a way of bringing value and also amplifying social proof and over time. So it's no longer, one call close. It's kind of like that, going from total stranger to trusted advisor. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's an important one. And I think, social media in general, but right, looking
Yes.
at the business ones, right, like LinkedIn and Reddit and those startups and working with kind of founder-led teams, some of them really get it and invest the time and are comfortable kind of engaging in that way. And others are more reticent. And so we're often having those conversations around,
Mm.
here's what you need to know. Here's some suggestions on kind of the platforms and kind of content pillars to be talking about. But, ultimately, I think it needs to come from that person and the stories need to be personal and the engagement needs to be based on their experience. So curious, how does that show up in your world and what kind of conversations do you have with founders, CEOs around that?
Yeah. Well, everyone's kind of afraid. Like, oh, I thought to make a comment, but I didn't want to, impose or something. It's like, no, 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 silly goose. It's a social network. So come play, be part of the conversation. You're just a person being with people. It's just on a screen. Good.
Yeah. I want to, take a quick step back and just hear, in RevOps in general, what are
Mm.
the areas that you're seeing kind of that are changing the most in the space?
I think we're finally getting the picture, like the center of gravity is really moving towards adoption of the go-to-market revenue engine, right? It's becoming so clear that the feedback loops and everything actually compounds and you get non-linear results when everything's part of a plan. So breaking down those silos and fiefdoms and actually aligning um, more and more, that's like an important thing to people, which I'm very excited about. And it's true. If you really look at the revenue engine as a system thinkers can go and say, where the biggest constraint, the thing that's holding back this entire system, like it's gonna grow until a point that like lynch point, that's your key constraint. If you solve for that, it opens up and then the whole engine grows. And then you step back and be like, oh, what's the next constraint? And you can really constraint based accelerate your learning by focusing the entire org on one thing at a time.
Do you think companies that are kind of newer, kind of in existence are kind of having an easier time with this, or is it kind of companies that are larger have been doing it and see the writing on the wall and so are, optimizing? I know the answer is probably a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
from the companies that you work with, kind of
Yeah.
where are those pockets of kind of success and innovation happening most?
Yeah. Well, like companies that are sort of starting new, the AI first, it's just part of what they do. It's like everything is they're only a team of 3, so it makes everybody is on board. Right. So it's kind of easier because you're starting from scratch. Whereas another one of our clients, they're like 15 years old. I think it's like a $60 million company. Like talk about like entrenched silos. So we're actually the entire project is a 6-month project to bring it all under one roof, or at least one team. Even if it like structurally or formally, it's not like the reporting to structure, but like a team alignment, go to market operations unit. And it takes a lot. That's change management. It's getting people used to different systems, new KPIs, new metrics, new like everything. And on top of I'm just going to name the elephant in the room is just the uncertainty, right? Political, financial, AI, techno, like everything is just so up in the air. And I think the natural human thing is to like close in, like protect your people, protect your stuff, like double down in the fiefdom and like protect what's mine. And so we're really asking people to go against their nature, as well as learn patterns to come together. So it's possible and it's a concerted effort for the bigger companies. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the change management component because that's something that I'm like, constantly talking to other CEOs and business owners around. I think there's an underappreciation for that side
Yes.
of all of this.
Yes.
And whether it is a company that's been like selling in more traditional ways, maybe they didn't need marketing to get to where they've gotten so far. And
Yep.
now kind of their world looks different. And aren't yet comfortable with social selling, let alone kind of the kind of automation that uh, that is needed to operate well these days. Um, so I think there's an underappreciation for that. Um, Curious, are there things that that you find work best to kind of show and prove the value of it?
Yeah, so I'm actually I just conceptualized a brand new like formalization of how I do things. And we're calling it ATM, Activate the Magic, ATM RevOps OS. Right. And so it's based on the theory of constraints and seeing the revenue engine as a system. And seeing it through the lens of, okay, RevOps is all dependent on the go-to-market and the product strategy, right? We don't like that, right? But under the go-to-market and product is what it is, sort of strategy. That's where we meet you on that strategy layer. But under that, it's process. So strategy drives process. Under that, process drives tech stack and tools, right? And under that drives data. What can you collect? Where does it go? And dashboards and all that stuff. And finally, enablement. And I think my theory on why enablement has been so squishy, and sort of like the first to go, I think I've talked to like 4 people who have been laid off from an enablement roles in the last like couple weeks, right? You're on the chopping block if you're enablement, um, because it's it's been loosey goosey, not separated with a unified uh thread, right? So when enablement is actually the system of existence to make things stick and land and actually be executed, then you can pull it into your ROI, your hypothesis, right? If we do this, um, we're going to watch this KPI at the baseline of my team. Each of piece of my team is now launching 8 prospects a day. We're going to move that to 12. Here's the plan. We're going to do it in a 12-week sprint. So 6 weeks in, let's look at the progress. Let's look at the leading indicators. Are we on track? And enablement is really part of that. So by week 12, you can look back and be like, yes, process has been made, and you can like numerically attribute that process, that ROI, that unlocked revenue, unlocked pipeline back to not only the strategy and the investment in tools and technology and data, but also the team, the system, the people who made it so.
What about timing and when to bring on RevOps, right? Whether that's a fractional service like yours, when to bring it in-house. How do you know if you're ready? How do you know if you should have brought it in a year ago? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. So all claims and points expressed are opinions of Jacki Leahy only. I do not speak for RevOps. I don't know who does, but it's not me. But here's my view of it. You'll know when you need RevOps. I think there's been this push of like, oh, you need RevOps. It's like, yeah, you always want revenue to lead infrastructure, right? And I always want it to be the minimum viable structure, process, stuff, to support growth. Because when you are really constraint focused solving growth, anything you solve for right now in like probably 4 months, but likely a year and a half, it's going to be irrelevant. You're going to rip it out anyway, right? It's going to be different. You're different chessboard. There might be like kids on the board by then. Like, no idea. So I like to say you really want to have that product market fit. So likely that happens around like 10 to 30 customers, depending on like ACV and stuff like that. You've probably started shifting from founder-led sales to org-led sales or sales-led sales in some point. And even that, it'll probably be too early. It's really when it's the Google Sheets empire starts to crumble, right? All of a sudden, whoever is in charge of sales, the sales leader, up until that point, they've been on every sales call. They know where deals are. So a spreadsheet, they know that. But then all of a sudden, things grow to a point where it's like, I don't know who this company is. I don't know what the sticky points are. Are we even missing things? Is everything? And then you find out about a deal that's not on your like deal tracker final spreadsheet. And then you find someone has a copied version. That's the point where it's like, we probably do need to invest in the time and really attention. You can only prioritize one thing at a time as a company. And so it's like, okay, we gotta prepare ourselves, organize ourselves. And my thesis is that you shouldn't hire RevOps in-house until later. You really do need operators who've been there, done that, seen things. It's much more of an apprenticeship situation. So anyone that you would hire if you could, there's not many of us, right? It's a new expertise. We would be far too expensive to take on fiscally responsibly. Like, do not hire me. Like, no. Not only can you not afford me, but I'll be bored. I'll be bored out of my mind, right? So, as long as you can, I do think having that fractional center of excellence. So at first, it's like a right-hand execution, then we grow with you. And pick a partner who has your best interest in mind, right? If like, you're going to need a Salesforce admin. Let's get you one in-house. Let's scope that role. Let's help you get one of those, right? But a lot of things, the projects are just moving so fast. It's impossible to be an expert in lead routing and territory and comp design and like all these things to really have proficiency at. If you're in-house for like 2 years, you see everything once in one context. Whereas external consultants, fractional people, we're seeing all of this all of the time across different go-to-market motions and use cases. So things start to rhyme, patterns start to emerge. It's like, we shouldn't do that. I can't tell you exactly why, but that's not it. Let's think about it a different way. So especially when you're shifting and changing so fast, I am biased, but go fractional.
Yeah. We sell fractional services as well, so fractional marketing department, and I think similar to yours, it's not one person, one skill set. It's a number of different skill sets that need to come together. That even if the company can't afford, that one full-time person, what you need is a fraction of this person's time, a fraction of that person's time, and all those things coming together. I do find there's kind of more of an openness around the fractional model these days. And I think it's, for the points you made, right? There's so much changing in the landscape around us. It's hard for any one person to keep pace. And
it's impossible. It's impossible to keep pace anyway.
Yeah. You need, best in class expertise across all the different areas of your business. And is a right time for kind of each of those to come on in-house.
You'll know when it's time to bring them on in-house. Yeah.
You mentioned a couple tools earlier. I want to hear, how do you vet new tools? How do you advise companies to look at new tools? Because, my experience both as a practitioner and advisor is, right, there's just so many of them out there. There's tools that sound great with their value prop, but then don't work as advertised. You don't always know kind of the owner behind them. And you can spend all your time, testing new tools rather than kind of working on your programming. So what does that look like in your world?
Yeah. So I'm a weirdo. Tech stack is my love language. So I do have the bandwidth and capacity and like just passion for scanning the market, seeing what's out there and doing that hands-on kind of tinkering. But I would say head on a swivel, ears open, eyes peeled. I think the most important thing you can do is get yourself in some sort of community of other people doing your role, other people doing your go-to-market motion kind of strategy. I'm in a couple Slack orgs. Wizards of Ops is fantastic. There's a Salesforce or Ohana group. There's RevOps Co-op is phenomenal. Women in sales. These Slack channels are just so well curated. The people in them just want to share what they messed up on. It's usually I made this mistake, and here's how it happened. I'm also in Operators Guild. So yeah, sometimes these paid networking groups, it might seem like a luxury, but it's just such a cheat code to keep yourself plugged in to what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think something very interesting you made me think of as you're sharing this is, we do need to go to these communities for information and for validation. I certainly lean very heavily on some of my networks as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think listeners are probably hearing that too from the vendor side, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do you get into those conversations? And
Yeah.
because people are searching and looking for information differently, that opens up a whole different set of kind of sales and marketing activities. So back to what we were talking about as far as social media, right? You need to be in those conversations and be commenting and add value. And so just like you value those as a user, put
Yeah.
yourself in the target market's shoes and invest in getting yourself in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Find the people who know. You don't need to know it all. Just like as long as you know, okay, this person does good diligence. I'm going to listen to this person, this person, this person. If they're saying it, like kind of vet your sources. And when something comes up, you can go to them and be like, hey, who should I be looking at for this? Like, no shame in that game.
For sure.
Yeah.
Curious to ask you, I have a few more questions. One is really around, we talked about center of excellence for RevOps. What does kind of best in class look like?
There's a few things that are just really crucial. I'm calling it the integrity layer, right? So everyone aligned on definition. This is missed so much, but like, let's define things. What is your definition of churn? What is your definition of an SQL? And it's not a define and move on. It's a living document. So maybe it's every quarter, maybe it's every 9 months, but have a ritual of getting together and actually checking that we're all using the same language. So important. And that is what drives metrics and what is reality, right? I think that's what best in class looks like.
Who should be driving that conversation? And I know it's a bit of a loaded question because it depends on org size and internal culture and all of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from? Does it come from sales, from marketing, from the executives that are not in directly in either function?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have read The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, right? If it's not the CEO, somebody who can pull, like, flip the switch. Somebody really has to care about it. And so even if they're not the ones who is the steward, um, somebody's got to care. Somebody's got to have the back of the truth teller. And it starts at the top. It starts at the executive leadership team. Um, yeah, if you are in the C-suite, your first priority, your first loyalty layer is to the rest of the executive team. And I think once that is rock solid foundation of trust, that's everything. That's everything. Yeah.
We're talking about the C-suite. And some CEOs and executives have great knowledge of the go-to-market. For others, especially I find from more technical backgrounds, sometimes it can feel a bit more foreign, at least at the outset. Are there any mistakes you see CEOs making when it comes to kind of scaling or revamping go-to-market efforts? And what advice would you have so that others don't make those same mistakes?
Yeah. If you're a CEO listening to this podcast and you don't value GTM, that would be weird. But if you are a more technical founder or CEO and you don't quite get the value of the go-to-market strategy, um, uh, go have your go go have someone knock your socks off. Have someone change your mind, because the products is important, the people are important, but go-to-market touches everything and everyone, right? Revenue, it's the lifeblood of your company. So how you're sourcing it, how it courses through your veins, um, it's so vital. And it's not something to be hacked, right? It's something to really revere. So my request, if you are listening to this as a technical person, to get yourself to GTM church of some sort.
Wonderful. Great advice. So Jacki, if people want to get in touch with you following this episode, what's the best way to reach you?
LinkedIn, baby. Jacki, Jacki Leahy, Leahy. I've got a little ATM and sparkle emojis at the end of my name, so that's how you'll know you found me. You can request. Don't worry about. I'll accept you if you request. DM me. I'm happy to chat. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Yes. Thank you, Natalie. This was fun.
Thank you. And to our listeners, if today's episode gave you any new ideas or tips, and I'm sure that it did, please share this with someone. We know that sharing this kind of knowledge and information helps us all grow as leaders and helps us with our go-to-market excellence. So thanks again, Jacki. And this has been another great conversation on Shift and Thrive. I'll see you all next time. That's a wrap for this week's episode. For show notes and more, visit shiftandthrivepodcast.com. A special thank you to our sponsor, Magnitude Consulting, bringing you the thinking power of a growth consultancy and the getting it done power of a full-service marketing agency to help B2B companies fuel their growth. For more information on Magnitude and to get your complimentary transformation readiness assessment, visit magnitudeconsulting.com/getready. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.